everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, I advise that you all be ready for I have lots to say in this video. We are actually going to talk about 7 topics this day. So if you are all ready, then let's go! I actually have something to say about this issue. The responsibility we have as a Filipino is very simple. It is only to keep the peace and protect our nation, which our heroes, particularly Rizal, worked hard to free from the hands of the selfish colonizers. But instead of doing that, some Filipinos really had the guts to exploit his name for their own benefit and even treat him as a celebrity. He's not a celebrity. He's our national hero, which is why he doesn't deserve that disrespect, especially coming from his own countrymen. Also, you people should stop focusing more on his self-interests and instead focus on what he has done for our country. Stop undervaluing his efforts for our nation and start doing your responsibility as a Filipino, as a gesture of gratitude to him. In my opinion, this Rizal law is the main reason Filipinos still know the value of our country and that our national heroes, particularly Rizal, have not been forgotten. And I am very grateful that Senator Recto stayed strong and determined when he implemented this, even with how opposed the Catholic Church is to this law. To me, he is also one of the most important people in the Philippines because just like Rizal, the church despised him for his choices, but he still stood up for what he thought was right, and I strive to be like that in the near future. With great efforts, this law was successfully implemented, which gave all the Filipino students, including me, the chance to read the famous and eye-opening novel of Rizal. But then, it was said to be weakened, which resulted in the Filipinos having little to no respect for our national heroes, especially Rizal, which just proves my point that this law really is the main reason why we Filipinos value our nation. But thankfully, it was quickly addressed and now it's doing okay. But really, I can't imagine what would happen if Senator Recto had given up, which he thankfully did not. This novel really talks heavily about the societal issues in our country in the past, and after reading this, I admit that I was full of rage because of those selfish and cruel friars, and I pity my fellow Filipinos who suffered greatly because of these people. The kabanata in this novel that is greatly engraved in my mind is Kabanata 14. And the reason why I like it so much is because of what Pilosopotasio said in that certain chapter, which is, dapat niyang nangal ang isang mabuting tao habang buhay pa kaysa kung patay na. It is insane that other characters in this novel are so close-minded even though he does have a great point, he is instead considered as a freak because of his wit. Besides, most people really only tend to thank people to their graves. When they are still alive, no one would ever say that they are thankful to them, which is ridiculous. Like, what's the point? Anyways, all the characters here represented the abused women, the mistreated poor Filipinos, and even the abused children in our country in the hands of Spaniards. And I greatly sympathize with them. I wish that they have already rested in peace after knowing that their beloved nation was finally freed, and also hope those cruel people will rot in hell. I can say that in this novel, Ibarra or Simon really had enough of Friars, and that he really is ready to resort to violence even though it is not what he really wants. What he says in Kabanata 7 in this novel proves what I just said. He said, walang mga aalipin kung walang paaalipin, which means that he is ready to fight anyone who wants to fight him. I really like how strong he actually got in this novel compared to the first, but then it is sad that even with the use of violence, this novel still has no happy ending and he just died without accomplishing anything. It breaks my heart that evil wins most of the time over good, but thankfully that's not what happened in reality to our country. Our Filipino heroes have won against those cruel Spaniards, for which they deserve the utmost respect from our young generation. I am also sad about how the love story between Simon and Maria Clara ended tragically. I think they really deserve each other, but because of the nation's societal problems, it was impossible for them to be together. This simply means that with our country's problems, love will be impossible. So if we don't want that, let us all unite and protect the Philippines. What I can say about this story is that it is satisfying. I love how Saint Augustine appeared out of nowhere, scaring Friar Rodriguez just as he should. I really understand why the saint was annoyed by this friar, considering how thick-skinned and attention-seeking he is. Instead of doing his priestly duties, which are to spread goodness and encourage people to worship God, he instead uses his position to mistreat Filipinos and make them worship him instead. People like him really are the reason why our country doesn't prosper. Instead of doing what they could to make our country richer, they instead steal the people's money, as if their actions would also not affect them, considering that they were also Filipino citizens. They're stupid. Anyways, the scene where the saint rants about how he was bullied in heaven because of priests like him makes me laugh because I can really feel how frustrated and embarrassed he is. I just wish that he punished the friar cruelly, because with his light punishment, the friar just become more stubborn. I really think he needs to see the devil instead of the saint for him to become better. All I can say is that Rizal did a great job of savagely mocking the friars, particularly Father Font in this story. He is very brave to respond to this friar's unjust criticism of his novel by using his talent for writing stories and using a different name. I love how in this story, what the friars said in their telephone conversation is the opposite of what is really the truth. This just implies how those cruel friars convinced even themselves that they were nothing but pure and good, when in fact they were evil and deserved to be rightfully punished for all they have done to the Filipinos. This story mentioned a lot of issues that were happening at that time in our country, and as far as I can see, they are the biggest reason why those issues even exist in the first place. The friars were said to feel wronged because they said they were the ones who fed and educated the Filipinos, and that it isn't fair for them because Filipinos have the most right to publish books that are against them. They even added that they never even talked with any pretty woman, when we all know that all of that is a lie. Anyway, I like how he ended this story with a sentence that I interpret as a threat from Filipinos to friars. Like, he was saying that if they do not stop their bad behaviors, Filipinos will finally fight them 10 times cruelly. Furthermore, it astounds me that he could predict at that time that telephones could call people in faraway places. Most people believe that Rizal's letter to Father Pastel are full of anti-Catholic ideas. And to be honest, if they are, then I completely understand him, given how the supposed ones who should encourage people to worship the name of God were cruel and failed to perform their priestly duties. Even I would have ideas about God that aren't right and are disrespectful if his preachers are like that. I like how he implied in his first letter that we are all different, which means we all have different opinions and beliefs. Rather than simply following the footsteps of others, it is far better to discover what you personally believe in life. I personally don't like it when people impose their own beliefs on me, which is one of the reasons why I get into fights with people and friends. I actually admire how Rizal still stayed friends with Father Pastels even after he used the words of God to debate with him, because if I were him, it would take time for me to forgive him after that. I mean, it's not really difficult to respect other people and their beliefs, right? So why not let them do what they do as long as it doesn't harm anyone. That's all for this video. I hope you all learned something, and I hope that you will still listen to me in the future. So if you want more content, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below. That's all for now. Bye bye!